Welcome ladies and gentlemen, this is Mon, and in today's guide I'm gonna go over a new way to speed farm energy links, weapon mods, weapon calibrations, and even kukri. Now before I get into what you need to do, I'd like to quickly announce that I have opened my community Discord server, so if you wish to join, link will be in the video's description and comments. Now to start off, you will need to have the brand new P90 weapon, and all what you're gonna want to do is to spam the Forsaken Giant Monolith on Pro difficulty with it. But as for the build and drinks, I already have a full video on my channel, so do check it out if you're interested. But in short here for the Forsaken Giant enemy, without diving into the mods, here's what you'll need to do for your build. For that boss, you will want to use the recurve crossbow as your secondary weapon in order to give you that 15% crit rate. You don't really to use any melee weapon, it doesn't matter. Just simply using your secondary and the main weapon will clear the boss faster than if you just start spamming buffs with your melee weapons. Then for your drink buffs, it's all already covered in my build video, but for this boss again, you'll want to eat mixed fried hot dog, bone and deviated sausage. You'll also want to eat borscht deluxe with meat that'll increase your damage, so here I'm just using deer meat. And lastly, you will want to use Stardust energy drink. Emphasis on the Stardust energy drink because it's going to be very important for you to reliably dodge the giant's first attack while you shoot at the giant. Of course, this is a setup that you're going to want to use if you are a chef. If you're not a chef, then just use mixed fried hot dog and a Stardust energy drink. Then, as for your deviation, you'll want to use the Zap Cam. The reason for this is because the Lone Wolf cannot hit the Forsaken Giant, hence you will not get any damage bonus from the Lone Wolf. Now for the accessories, I'm going with one that has the least amount of damage fall off, and that's going to be the Tactical Suppressor, Tactical Rifle Scope, and Tactical Laser Sight. As for the magazine, you're going to want the weighted SMG mag. And as for the best ammo, since the Forsaken Giant is in a monolith, the best ammo type to use is going to be Smart SMG AP ammo. Though of course, if you cannot afford that kind of ammo, then you're simply just going to have to stick with Tungsten SMG ammo. And now even if you're on a low HP preset, don't go for the Illusion SMG ammo, it's just way too costly to use Lunar Wisp to craft that kind of ammo. Now, as for the key gear, it's going to be Earthly Boots, since obviously the Forsaken Giant is a solo boss, so you're not going to benefit much from wearing the other key gear, which would be the Bloodstained Boots. Then, as for the gear sets, you're going to always want to wear 2-piece Lone Wolf, but as for the 3-piece set bonuses, you can either go with 3-piece Savior or 3-piece Treacherous, it doesn't matter too much. Just know that if you are with the 3-piece Savior preset, just make sure to stack up the 3-piece effect from the Savior piece, just so that you don't have to stack it up when you're actually shooting the boss. So essentially, if you're min-maxing damage, go with the 3-piece Savior, but if you're not going the extra length to min-max your damage, then just simply stick to 3-piece Treacherous, because the 2-piece and 3-piece will give you a permanent weapon damage bonus, and you don't have to worry about the weapon swapping trick, which is essentially here, just for instance, if I demonstrate it to you, this is the Savior stack, and so before you get to the boss's curtains or whatever, you just holster, unholster the weapon, so you stack up the Savior's damage boost. So if you're not going to do that, then simply stick to 3-piece Treacherous. Now, moving on to the mod Suffixes and Stats and the mods, starting with the weapon mod, you're going to want to use Vulnerability Amplifier with Violent Suffix. And so essentially, you're going to get 8% extra vulnerability, and as for the substats, try to get triple gold on crit damage, damage against great ones, and weapon damage bonus. Then for the crossbow, it doesn't really matter that much, since your P90 will apply the 8% vulnerability from Vulnerability Amplifier, but for the crossbow, also put on a Vulnerability Amplifier mod. Substats don't really matter, since the damage of the crossbow will literally not matter. Then moving on to the helmet mod, you have two mod choices. You have between Weapon Symphony, and you also have Fateful Strike. Now really, just use whichever one that you have the best substats on, but currently for me it's going to be Weapon Symphony, so I will be using this. And ideally, you will want a Lunar Suffix mod, but if you don't have Lunar Suffix mod, just run Violent Suffix. But as Lunar Suffix, you'll always look for crit damage bonus, great ones, and weapon damage bonus. Ideally, get triple gold on those 3 substats. Then, for your mask mod, you will want to look for a targeted strike mod, which is going to pretty much increase your crit rate by 10% and crit damage by 25%. And as for the substats, look for triple gold on crit damage, great ones, and weapon. Moving on to the gloves, it's going to be crit boost to get as much crit rate as possible. Then as for the suffix, you'll want crescent if you are using 3-piece savior, but if you're not using a 3-piece savior, then just go with violent suffix. But as for the substats, look for triple gold on crit damage substat, look for triple gold on crit damage, great ones, and weapon damage bonus. Then moving on to the boots mod, if you're using low HP preset, you will want to use rush hour, but if not, simply run covered advance. Now as for the suffix, go with violent, and ideally look for crit damage, weapon damage, and damage against great ones. Then, for your top mod, go with any top mod of your choice, it doesn't matter. Go for any top mod with the best substats. For me, it's going to be this one, which has triple gold on damage against great ones, crit damage, and weapon damage. Then lastly, for the pants, you will want to run a violent dead shot. The crit effect is essentially going to give you up to 45% crit damage, and as for the substats, look for crit damage, damage against great ones, and weapon damage. Now lastly, I'd also like to address the magazine capacity with a assault calibration trick into your actual build. Essentially, one trick that you could do is you will have a preset that is full on about magazine capacity. So every mod has magazine capacity and your gear is solely built for magazine capacity. And what essentially you're going to do is you're going to have a P90 holographic resonance with assault style calibration instead of the usual heavy style that you should be running. And what you do is you simply have that preset just to reload. So like this, you'll see that even with assault calibration, at the bottom right of my screen, you'll see that I have 151 ammo. And then before going to the boss room, you just swap to another preset that has the exact same gun. However, it's an actual build not with magazine capacity, but with damage bonuses. Now, about this trick, I wouldn't recommend doing it because during the time that you're swapping presets, reloading your P90 and then reswapping and all that, you will literally clear the Forsaken monolith faster if you just stick to a preset with an actual damage setup and with a heavy calibration P90. The boss is tanky, but not tanky enough to justify the use of all these tricks. Which is, by the way, also why we're not even using a melee weapon to proc buffs. Now, if you're not too sure on how to get to the Forsaken Monolith, you're simply going to teleport to the Forsaken Monolith teleportation tower. Then, once you spawn in, just simply go into the Rosetta facility like this. Turn left, and then you're just going to take up the stairs here. Let's just jump over here, all the way here, and then here you turn right, and here you are at the Monolith. And now pretty much all what you're going to want to do is just load into the dungeon, then spawn your deviation in manual photograph mode, shoot the giant in its head with the crossbow, swap to P90, double jump when the giant's attack hits, defeat the giant and get your rewards, and rinse and repeat. And now as you can see on the screen, you get 12,000 EL per clear, a weapon mod box, weapon mod parts, a weapon, starter source, and electronic part. So if you need energy links or weapon mods for your weapon mod conversions, then this is going to be the best way to farm those resources. But this is it for this quick video. Let me know in the comments down below what you want to see next. If you have any questions, let me know as well. This is Mon. Peace out.